Hey, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and in this video I wanted to show you a little trick for flipping your braided line on your fishing reels. Now this is a great way to save money because you can reuse the braid that's already on your reel instead of replacing the whole thing with a fresh new spool. Because what you're doing when you're flipping the line on your spool is you're basically taking the line that is on top and flipping it. You're flipping it to now be on the bottom. So all that braid that has been closer to the inside of the spool, that's all fresh, good braid. So you can now put that on top. So what you're gonna do, or what you're gonna need rather, are 2 empty spools. So save your spools from your braid or mono or even your leader material, whatever it may be. Save your spools. You're gonna need those, and you're gonna need 2 of them. Also, going to need a drill, and the reason you need the drill is because you're going to attach the spool to the drill, and to do that you're going to need a bolt that's about 2.5 inches long or so, depending on your spool, and then you're going to have a washer and a nut on the back end, and then a washer on top to keep that bolt in place. And then you're just going to put it onto your drill like so. And it's going to wobble a little bit. That's normal. It's not going to be perfect. All you're using this for is to take the braid off your spool. And when you do this, what I recommend doing is taking the cap off your spool, the cap that goes on top, take it off. That way there's no pressure on your drag system at all, because you're going to be pulling line off of that spool. Also, you want to consider which way the line is coming off. So if the drill is spinning that direction, you want your line to be coming off the spool in basically the same direction. You don't want it going under, you want it going over and going in the same direction that is spinning. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and take this line off the spool and put it onto this spool. Once we do that, we're then gonna transfer that line to this spool. Then after we do that, we're going to put the line that is now on this spool back onto the reel, and that's going to flip your braided line. Now once you get to your backing, leave your backing on the reel. You don't have to take that off. So we'll just cut the line here. You could take a little bit off if you wanted to tie it onto the other spool, but not really necessary. And now you can go ahead and put your spool back together, put the cap back on, and ready for when we're ready to put our line back on. The backing's ready to be tied onto. So now we're going to go ahead and transfer the line that I just took off my spinning reel onto this other spool, and that is again because you want the fresh braid to actually be on top when you transfer it back to your spinning reel. So we have to have that fresh braid go on first with the old braid on the back. That way you tie the older braid to your spinning reel and the new braid is back on top. So let's go ahead and transfer this line over to this spool. Now usually I would have this spool set up ready to go with another bolt, washer, nut on there, but only have one, so I'm going to go ahead and transfer that over really quick. So just to save time, make sure you have 2 spools that are set up with a bolt so you can just take it off the drill, put it on there, and you're good to go. So same thing again, you want to make sure that line is coming off the spool from this one and going onto the spool in the same way that it came off. So as you can see there, line over, line over. All right, so now we have the line back onto the second spool, and from this spool, this is where we're going to transfer it back over to the spinning reel. Again, because that old braid or that section of braid that was exposed previously is now on top of this spool, and it's going to go on first onto your spinning reel. So when you're done spooling it up, that fresh braid that's underneath is now going to be on top. So let's go ahead and do that. Now when I'm tying my braid, my main line to the backing, I'm just using a double uni knot, a uni to uni. Easiest one to tie. You could tie an FG knot if you wanted a slimmer profile. That way you don't get a bump in your line when you're spooling it up, but if you're using very thin diameter braid, doesn't really matter too much. And my backing is about the same pound test as the braid that I'm using. So 10-pound braid, I'm using 10-pound mono as my backing. So now we're ready to go ahead and put the line back on the reel. I put the reel back on the rod. It just makes it easier to, reel while you're keeping tension on the line up here. And the same thing that I mentioned before, you want your line going onto your spool the same way it's coming off of the spool. So now I have the spool facing me. That way the line can go onto the reel in the same direction. So let's go ahead and spool it back up. Alright, so there we go. We have nice fresh braid on top of the spool now. No more line frays, none of that. And this can take a little bit of time, but it will definitely save you money in the long run instead of having to completely switch out all of your braid when just mainly the very top section of the braid is what's getting used the most, and all that stuff that's underneath, it's not getting used. So you might as well just flip the braid. That way you don't have to waste the money. So that will wrap up this video. If you have any questions or comments, or perhaps some additional tips you would like to share when it comes to swapping out or flipping your braid on your spinning reels, definitely let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you haven't done so already, definitely be sure to check out our Salt Strong Insider Club, where we guarantee you'll start catching more fish in less time, or it's free. So definitely check that out. In addition, you also get 20% off our online shop page, where we have all sorts of rods, reels, tackle, line, hooks, lures, equipment, everything you need to get on the water and start catching fish. And again, members get a 20% discount. The shop is open to the public. However, you don't get that discount unless you are a member. So definitely check that out. Till next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.